Hello. Thank you for another spiritual discussion. These lessons that are given from Kabbalah comes from the manual of Kabbalah for the student. The following lesson is taken directly from that manual. The Torah was not given to Israel before each and every one from Israel was asked if he agreed to take upon himself the mitzvah, the precept of loving others in the full measure expressed in the words, love thy friend as thyself. This means that each and every one in Israel would take it upon himself to care and work for each member of the nation and to satisfy all their every needs, no less than the measure imprinted in him to care for his own needs. And once the whole nation agreed and said, we shall do and we shall hear, each member of Israel became responsible that nothing should be missing from any other member of the nation. Only then did they become worthy of receiving the Torah and not before. With this collective responsibility, each member of the nation was liberated from worrying about the needs of his own body and could keep the mitzvah, love thy friend as thyself, in the fullest measure, and give all that he had to any needy person, since he no longer cared for the existence of his own body, as he knew for certain that he was surrounded by 600,000 loyal friends who were standing ready to provide for him. For this reason, they were not ready to receive the Torah at the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but only when they came out of Egypt and became a complete nation. Only then was there a possibility for a guarantee for everyone needs without any care and concern to be met. As long as the individual is troubled with concerns for himself, he is unfit to even begin to keep the mitzvah. Love that friend as thyself. The giving of the Torah had to be delayed until they came out of Egypt and became a nation of their own, so that all their needs were provided for by themselves without dependence on others. It turns out that even after the reception of the Torah, if a handful from Israel betrayed and returned to the filth of self love without consideration of their friends, that same amount of need that is put in the hands of those few would burden Israel with the need to provide for it themselves. This is because those few will not pity them at all, and the fulfillment of the mitzvah of loving one's friend will be prevented from the whole of Israel. These rebels cause those who keep the Torah to remain in their filth of self love, for they will not be able to engage in the mitzvah, love thy friend as thyself, and complete their love for others without their help. As a result, all of Israel are responsible for one another, both on the positive side and on the negative side. On the positive side, if they keep the agreement until each cares and satisfies the needs of his friends, they can fully keep the Torah and mitzvah, meaning bring contentment to the Creator. And on the negative side, if a part of the nation does not want to keep the agreement, but rather chooses to wallow in self love, they cause the rest of the nation to remain immersed in their filth and lowliness without ever finding a way out of their filth of self love. The following proverbs is given as two people on a boat. When one of them began to drill a hole in the boat, his friends asked, why are you drilling? He replied, what business is it of yours? I am drilling under me, not under you. So he replied, "Fool, we will both drown together." From this, we learn that since those rebels wallow in self-love by their actions, they build an iron wall that prevents the observance of the Torah from even beginning to fully keep the Torah and mitzvah in the measure of love thy friend as thyself, which is the ladder for reaching adhesion with the Creator. Everyone admits that to begin with, it is enough to start with one nation for the observance of the Torah, for the beginning of the correction of the world. It was impossible to begin with all the nations at once, as was said, that the Creator went with the Torah to every nation and tongue, and they did not want to receive it. In other words, they were immersed in the filth of self-love, some with adultery, some with robbery and murder, and so on, until it was impossible to conceive in those days to even ask if they agreed to retire from self-love. So, according to Kabbalah, the meaning of what God is saying in Exodus chapter 19, verse 5, that's Exodus chapter 19, verse 5. Now, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you shall be a special treasure to me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And it means the following. Now, therefore, if ye will hearken unto my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, meaning make a covenant on what I am telling you here, that ye shall be my own treasure from among all peoples. This means that you will be my treasure, and spark of purification and cleansing of the body shall pass through you unto all the peoples and the nations of the world. For the nations of the world are not yet ready for it. And at any rate, I need one nation to start with. Now, so it will be as a remedy for all the nations. And therefore, he ends, for all the earth is mine, meaning all the people of the earth belong to the Creator, as do you, and are destined to cling to the Creator. But now, while they are still incapable of performing that task, I need a virtuous people. And if you agree to be the remedy for all the nations, I command you to be unto me a kingdom of priests, which is the love of others and its final form of love thy friend as thyself, which is the fullness of all the Torah and mitzvah, and a holy nation is the reward and its final form of adhesion with God, which includes all the reward that can even be conceived. And the other verse is, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. This is the goal that must be before every eyes when laboring for one's friend's needs. So, the role of the children of Israel as the ones that should be the remedy through which the spark of purity and cleansing of the body will pass on to all the nations of the world. This is because the rest of the nations of the world are not yet ready for it. And the Creator needs at least one nation to start with. So it will be chosen from among all nations. So to summarize, this video is as follows. Number one, the purpose of the whole creation is for all creatures to cleave to the Creator. Then they will be rewarded with eternal delight and wholeness through their own doing. Number two, it is possible to achieve this goal only through realizing the law, love thy friend as thyself. This rule will be realized gradually, beginning with the unity of a few people through a gradually growing group up to a whole nation, which will eventually lead all the nations of the world to the work of God and the love of man. Number three, the first nation that should carry out its role of realizing this idea is the Israeli nation. In other words, the nation of Israel. The people of Israel are to set an example for all the nations and lead them to the same concepts. That was number 4 I just read. And then number 5, any individual, group, or nation that will refuse to tread this path will inflict terrible torment on themselves, which will direct them back to the right path towards the end of correction. And finally, number 6, any individual, group, or nation that will dedicate itself to this goal will affect and accelerate the whole process and will be rewarded with the desired wholeness. The only reason for the suffering in the world is to develop people and teach them to turn to the Creator and contact Him. All this can be achieved by simply changing our attitude towards reality. There's no need to make any external changes whatsoever. If we succeed in teaching as many people as possible to relate to life in this manner, we will quickly find ourselves in a much more tranquil and peaceful world. The deep connection with the Creator will help each of us to understand the purpose of our lives, the root of our souls, and how we can obtain endless enjoyment. By achieving that, we will be achieving the purpose of creation, and we will receive all the delight and pleasure that has been prepared for each of us. I will bring this video to a close, but in ending this video, please feel free to share it with others. And if you would like to see more of this type of content, please click the subscribe button below on this channel. Also, after subscribing, if you click the notification bell, you will be notified of any new videos that I make. I would also love to have your comments and questions given to me below. Just be respectful to one another. And again, I say thank you.